Welcome to Mystic Mark's Parlour, where I shall study the runes and gaze deeply into my trusty crystal ball to tell you of the demolition and construction industry's immediate future. Yes, the mists are clearing and I can see an image. It's an image of a country lane. Beautiful, picturesque. But hang on, what's this? Amidst this scene of pastoral beauty is a huge pile of demolition and construction waste that's been dumped illegally. But why? All the mists are rolling in again, but I'm seeing pound signs. Following the spring 2024 budget, the government announced that the cost of landfill tax is set to rise by £22.45 from the 1st of April 2025. This rise in the standard rate marks a significant jump in landfill tax compared to previous years, rising from the current £103.70 to £126.15. Prices are expected to rise across all waste stream disposal as the industry and recycling markets react to absorb this change and incorporate the heightened taxation, energy, and labour costs. And inevitably, this will have a knock on effect within the demolition and construction industry. But it's likely to have an impact way beyond that. That's right. Whenever taxation on waste disposal increases, history has shown one certainty: fly tipping will increase. It's an unfortunate yet predictable response to rising costs as individuals and businesses seek ways to dispose of waste without absorbing the additional financial burden. And while the government may have intended for this increase to drive greater recycling and sustainability, the reality is often far more problematic. Local authorities and environmental agencies have spent decades fighting a battle against illegal waste dumping. Fly tipping scars rural landscapes, clogs urban alleyways, and pollutes waterways. The rise in landfill tax will only exacerbate this issue, leading to an increase in waste being dumped in places where it doesn't belong: farmland, roadsides, and even residential streets. At a time when councils are already struggling to enforce existing fly tipping laws, an increase in illegal dumping will further strain resources, requiring more surveillance, clean-up operations, and legal proceedings. While the government may argue that increasing landfill tax is an environmental move designed to reduce waste and encourage recycling, the question remains: who ultimately pays for this decision? And the answer, as always, is everyone. With waste disposal costs soaring, many demolition and construction companies will be forced to pass on the additional burden to clients. Others, unable to absorb or offset the increase, may turn to illegal means of disposal. Councils will bear the cost of cleaning up fly-tipped waste, diverting funds away from other essential services. And the irony here is glaring. Money that could have been used for sustainability initiatives will instead be spent on clearing illegally dumped waste. Private landowners are often the biggest victims of fly tipping. Those who own large plots of land frequently find themselves being targeted by unscrupulous waste disposers. Worse still, they still bear the financial responsibility of removing the illegally dumped material. Toxic waste, construction debris, and hazardous materials don't just disappear, they contaminate soil, poison water sources, and harm the wildlife. The rise in fly tipping won't just be a nuisance, it will be an environmental disaster. As the cost of legal waste disposal rises, illicit waste operations are set to boom. Rogue waste disposal firms, sometimes disguised as legitimate businesses, will offer cut price services that seem too good to be true, because they usually are. Instead of responsibly managing waste, these rogue operators often dump it illegally, leaving clients none the wiser until enforcement authorities come knocking. And make no mistake, waste crime is big business. It's a lucrative industry, with organised crime groups exploiting the situation to make quick profits. But what happens when illegal waste accumulates? It's not just an eyesore. It fuels fires, pollutes ecosystems, and creates dangerous health risks. From asbestos laden rubble to flammable chemical drums, the dangers of unchecked waste dumping are very, very real. One of the government's key arguments for raising landfill tax is to drive more waste away from a landfill and towards recycling. But this overlooks a fundamental problem. The UK's recycling infrastructure is not equipped to handle this sudden influx of diverted materials. Many construction and demolition materials, such as plasterboard, treated wood, and insulation, require specialised processing facilities. If those facilities can't cope with demand, or if recycling costs remain prohibitively high, businesses will still face tough choices. In addition, recycling markets fluctuate. When demand for recycled materials is low, waste that would otherwise be repurposed can end up in the landfills anyway, despite the best of intentions. If landfill taxes continue to rise without simultaneous investment in recycling infrastructure, the situation becomes a vicious cycle. Higher costs, more fly tipping, no real environmental benefit. If the government was truly committed to reducing landfill waste, a tax increase alone will not suffice. Instead of simply punishing landfill use, the government needs to introduce financial incentives for companies to adopt innovative waste reduction strategies such as modular construction, deconstruction, and material repurposing. A higher landfill tax also needs to be accompanied by more robust enforcement against fly tipping. Heavier penalties, increased surveillance, and better reporting mechanisms are essential. Without investment in modern recycling plants, the push towards sustainability remains theoretical. Funding should be directed towards scalable, cost effective recycling solutions. Businesses and individuals need clear guidance on waste management best practice. Many turn to illegal disposal simply because they're unaware of the alternatives. The demolition and construction industry needs to be involved in policy making. Their expertise is invaluable in creating waste management strategies that are both practical and effective. This landfill tax increase is a warning sign of deeper issues within the UK's waste management framework. It highlights a growing divide between environmental aspirations and economic realities. While in theory the goal is to reduce landfill dependency, in practice the lack of proper infrastructure, economic incentives, and enforcement mechanisms makes widespread illegal dumping almost inevitable. If the government truly wants to prioritise sustainability, it must recognise that simply making landfill disposal more expensive is not a solution. Without a comprehensive strategy to mitigate the risks, this policy may do more harm than good. And the reputable part of the construction and demolition industry now faces a dilemma: absorb the increased costs or pass them on to clients that are already looking to cut costs. Unfortunately, the less reputable parts of the industry are already eyeing alternative disposal methods, and those methods could be coming to a street, field, or country lane near you.